everyone, this is the Wrestling Mark, and there could not be a better time to debut this show because we are less than 2 weeks away from WrestleMania, where a year's worth of action, tension, and feuding comes to a crashing collision in one night. And this year's WrestleMania has some of the most intriguing matchups I've seen in a long time. So let's get started with what many consider to be the biggest match of the night, Triple H and The Undertaker. Can the game be the one to finally end the dead man's perfect record at WrestleMania? Well, I am aware that Triple H did lose to Undertaker 10 years ago, but a lot has changed since then. Triple H has become champion 9 times in that time span, proving that he can hang with the likes of Jericho, Goldberg, Randy Orton, and John Cena. And he has the motivation of his longtime friend Shawn Michaels being out of wrestling because of Taker. Now, does this mean I think the game is going to easily destroy The Undertaker in this no-holds-barred match? Not at all. Taker is never one that you can count out in any match, especially not WrestleMania. But at the end of what could be a very barbaric encounter, Triple H may finally be the one standing tall as the one who ultimately took down the dead man. Next up, we have the very strange encounter of Michael Cole against Jerry Lawler. I'm still wondering who the heck's going to call this match while it's on TV. But I'm going to go and play devil's advocate here. I know a lot of people want to see Cole get his just desserts in this match, but I'm going to try and look at this from Cole's perspective. I can't help but think that this is much more than just whatever animosity Cole has against Lawler. This is about Michael Cole never getting any respect after trying to pay his dues as a broadcaster in WWE for nearly 15 years, constantly having to live in the shadow of Jim Ross. Yes, Cole has been very unprofessional in the past few months, but there was a time when JR could be just as much of an ass clown when he was living in the shadow of Gorilla Monsoon. Now, you might think that the King is just going to wipe the mat with this journalist, especially with Stone Cold Steve Austin as the referee for this match. But I'm not willing to completely count Cole out of this match. Not because he's under the tutelage of Jack Swagger, but because of the intangible of all that frustration he's going to try and take out. And hey, if Kevin Federline can beat John Cena, anything is possible in this game. That now brings us to our world title matches at WrestleMania, starting with Edge versus Alberto Del Rio. And while I'd like to say how much I hate Del Rio, think he's a spoiled aristocrat, and want to see Edge beat the holy hell out of him, I actually find Del Rio a breath of fresh air compared to the hell Edge went through last month with that witch Vicky Guerrero. Well, now that she's rode off on her broomstick to Raw, Edge only needs to focus on the WrestleMania match itself. Heck, even that walking tub of goo Brodus Clay doesn't scare me that much, because he can't grab a microphone and ban the spear from Edge. Actually, is Clay even capable of talking? Anyway, this doesn't mean Edge is going to have a cakewalk. Del Rio is a very vicious opponent. This guy has a mean streak in him, and right now, Edge may be lucky if he even makes it to the Georgia Dome in one piece. He could very well lose the title, but at least it's not because a harpy is trying to steal it and put it on her boy toy. So at last we come to The Miz versus John Cena for the WWE Championship. And do these guys even know they're facing each other? It's like they both seem hung up on having The Rock hosting this event. I mean, first Cena, who always seems focused on getting back the title, gets into this war of words with Rocky, and you'd think Miz would take advantage of this and focus on just Cena, but now he's going off making fun of The Rock. And by the way, Cena might have a point. I mean, this is The Rock's opportunity to prove he still loves this business, and he's only now going to return to Raw a week before WrestleMania, 6 weeks after his last appearance? Rocky, you had plenty of time to confront Cena and Miz together and nip this in the bud quickly, but now you're just going to look like a glory hog trying to steal the spotlight. I can't really predict who's going to win this match, but I'm genuinely concerned that whoever wins the title is going to be upstaged by someone who hasn't been at WrestleMania in 7 years. Still, I am definitely looking forward to WrestleMania, and I'm hoping all of you are looking forward to it as well. And until next time, I'm the Wrestling Mark. Hello everyone, I'm the Wrestling Mark, and wow, can you believe it? It's going to happen! The matchup wrestling fans have wanted for years and feared might never happen is going to come true. 1 year from now, at WrestleMania 28, we will see John Cena against The Rock. I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say this is the most anticipated match in nearly a decade. We never got to see Stone Cold against Goldberg. We'll never see The Big Show against Andre. But this is truly a generational matchup that will have two eras colliding. On one side, you've got The Rock's Attitude Era, where he had no problem trying to drown Steve Austin in a river, said anything on his mind, and didn't give a damn who he crushed or hurt on his way to the top. Then you've got Cena, someone who's also never afraid to speak his mind, but also wants to prove that he can be a role model to people of all ages. Clearly, this will split wrestling fans right down the middle. 9 years ago at WrestleMania 18, we saw The Rock and Hulk Hogan face off in a showdown that truly divided its audience. You had half the Toronto Skydome chanting, "Hogan! Hogan!" The other half going, "Rocky! Rocky!" Trust me, next year in Miami, we're gonna see that type of atmosphere once again. I am really interested in seeing what The Rock is going to do in these next 12 months now that this gauntlet has been thrown. Rocky is going to have to make his presence known more than a few times, if he really wants to be a threat. He may really need to step into the ring once again before WrestleMania. If he heads back to Hollywood and doesn't appear again until it's time for WrestleMania, I say Cena will have a definite advantage. What's more, perhaps Cena can now finally focus on those who are currently in the ring and get back on track. I won't sugarcoat this. John Cena was not focused at WrestleMania. He didn't look good at all, and even if it hadn't been for The Rock's interference, even if they hadn't been both counted out before The Rock stepped in, I could not see Cena taking that belt that night. It's clear that Cena was more focused on The Rock for this entire month. But now that he knows he'll get the People's Champion in a year, Cena can finally turn his attention back to where it belongs. He says he doesn't look forward to facing The Miz again. I don't buy that. As long as The Miz has that inverted WWE Championship, yeah, you all hated it when Cena turned the belt into a big spinning bling bling. Miz has really disrespected it now. But as long as Miz has that title, Cena will be coming after him. And who knows, maybe at WrestleMania 28, we'll see John Cena versus The Rock for the WWE Championship. No matter what, I have a feeling April 1st, 2012 can't get here soon enough. And yet somehow I feel the days will just fly right on by. I'm the Wrestling Mark. Hello, I'm the Wrestling Mark, and the WWE Draft has come and gone for another year. Personally, I've always liked how we get this opportunity to see some big changes in the rosters like this, and it's very convenient that this event has regularly been happening at the same time of year in recent years. But on to business. Even though John Cena's switch lasted only 2 hours, it's still clear that SmackDown got the better end of this year's draft, especially with the supplemental picks. With Sheamus now on SmackDown, Friday nights have both the Intercontinental and United States champions now. What's going to happen to Raw's mid-card talent now? Something tells me the Raw general manager, whoever that may be, is not going to stand for this and is going to try to find a way to bring one of those belts back to Monday nights. On the other hand, Raw did come out with some good potential. Beth Phoenix going back to Monday nights means the divas like the Bella Twins are gonna have their work cut out for them. The Glamazon was definitely held back on SmackDown, and you could bet she's going to be on a mission to get back on top. And with this mysterious karma apparently on her way, the other divas could be in big trouble. Some other big moves that occurred? Well, it's gonna be wait and see if The Miz can remain WWE Champion now that he won't have his little stooge Alex Riley anymore on Raw. Even if Miz does survive the cage match with Cena and Morrison, it just may be a matter of time before someone takes that belt, unless Miz can find a way to finally do it by himself. Ted DiBiase, Chris Masters, and Drew McIntyre are all superstars that may be revitalized with a change of pace. Jack Swagger, I'm gonna wait and see how well he succeeds in the ring on Raw. But it does mean that we now have two guys on that show that Michael Cole is going to go gaga over. But then we have the big story. With Alberto Del Rio going to Raw, there is a good chance that Monday nights could have both the WWE and World Heavyweight Champions after Extreme Rules. It all depends on whether he or Christian win that ladder match for the vacant World Heavyweight title. Suddenly there's a pretty big reason to tune in to Extreme Rules this Sunday night, and depending on how that turns out, we could have a very chaotic summer in the WWE this year. I'm the Wrestling Mark. Hello everyone, I'm the Wrestling Mark. Well, last week on SmackDown, we saw once again that things in wrestling can change in the drop of a hat. For the second time in less than a week, we have a new world champion as Randy Orton... Stop! I can't do this. We're not doing this. What? I said we're not doing this! Get out of that chair! Get off that set! Just get out of here! Yeah, that's right. Yeah, go in the other room. Go outside for a few minutes. You don't want to hear this. Trust me. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, but we're gonna have to break kayfabe for this one because I need to get something off my chest. Yeah, by now you're probably aware that last week on SmackDown, Christian dropped the World Heavyweight title to Randy Orton, and there are a number of fans who are displeased to completely outraged about it, and that's their right to do so. But unfortunately, there are some of them out there who chose to be jerks about it and ruin everything for the rest of us. One in particular that I know of. Yeah, I'm talking to you, Angry Mark. Yeah, mark my pasty white ass. You're a smart and everyone knows it. You're one of those people who claims to be one of wrestling's best fans, and yet you spend all your time complaining about it. And you know what? That's fine. I don't have a problem with you hating wrestlers like John Cena and Randy Orton. I don't have a problem with you whining about who has the belt. What I have a problem with is you having the gall to make a profanity-laden rant and post it on Wednesday, 2 days before the matches you're ranting about are televised. And then you go and cross-post it on the Channel Awesome blogs with no spoiler warnings. You couldn't wait until 10:01 p.m. Eastern Time to post your little rant. You had to tell everyone possible that you knew what happened. Only one type of person does that. An asshole! Yeah, you're an asshole! This is why I hate the IWC people. This is why I created a kayfabe show just to spite them. They're a bunch of petulant, elitist jerks who think that they're the only fans that matter in pro wrestling, and the other 90% of us are ruining their beloved sport. So they're going off half-cocked on every fan site possible and try to give away every result they can find just to be a bunch of jerks. So I'm sorry. Just what this guy did pissed me off more than just about anything else I've ever seen in pro wrestling. This is why I'm asking everyone to avoid watching these guys at all costs. Aside from this show, I recommend checking out The Wrestling Nerd. He posts text reviews on the Channel Awesome blogs at 5 p.m. Eastern Time after every wrestling show. This guy's honest, he's fair, and he doesn't believe in ruining things with spoilers. He hated Christian dropping the strap just as much, but he waited until Saturday to tell people. If you want non-kayfabe reports on wrestling, go look that guy up. The Wrestling Nerd. Avoid the others, because as far as I'm concerned, they're the ones ruining wrestling. Screw the IWC, screw the Angry Mark. As far as I'm concerned, you guys can all go to hell! I'm the Wrestling Mark, and we had some special guests appearing on Monday Night Raw this past week, but we'll get to them momentarily. In the meantime, let's focus on the action. John Laurinaitis declared that CM Punk would get a WWE Championship match against Alberto Del Rio if Punk could beat the World Heavyweight Champion Mark Henry. That opportunity seemed to slip away when Del Rio's assistant Ricardo Rodriguez assaulted Mark Henry in the ring and disqualified CM Punk. However, Laurinaitis did say Punk could still face Del Rio if Del Rio agreed to the match. Later that night, The Big Show defeated Alberto Del Rio, punching him across the ring to counter Del Rio's attempt at the flying knee in the corner. Immediately after the match, Punk showed up again and put Del Rio in his Anaconda Vice Lock to get Alberto Del Rio to accept the match. Vicky Guerrero's stable continues to struggle as both Jack Swagger and Dolph Ziggler lost. Swagger was beaten by Santino Marella as one of Raw's aforementioned guests gave him a potion that was supposed to increase his stamina, but instead Marella simply spat it out in Swagger's face, which allowed him to get the roll-up. Zack Ryder then beat Dolph Ziggler despite the referee waving off one pinfall attempt due to Ziggler's foot being on the ropes. But still, Ryder then fought off Vicky's attempt to break up the match, followed by Ziggler's attempt at the zigzag to counter with the Rough Rider for the win. The fan-proclaimed Air Boom team of Kofi Kingston and Evan Bourne continue to see what it's like to have the targets on their backs as tag team champions, as they were defeated by the team of Wade Barrett and Cody Rhodes. Bourne did counter Barrett's Wasteland Slam once, but Rhodes' distraction as Bourne tried to go for Airborne allowed Barrett to counter and successfully hit the Wasteland on the second try. Meanwhile, Kevin Nash has been re-signed to WWE after he assaulted Triple H earlier, a decision that Triple H actually wanted to happen. It's believed that Nash will appear at Raw next week, although Triple H is expected to be out another 5 weeks due to Nash's assault. And finally, it has been confirmed. The Rock has accepted John Cena's request to join him and team up against The Miz and R-Truth at Survivor Series. Rock declared his decision was based primarily on his own dislike for Miz and Truth and not any respect he may or may not have for Cena. It's also believed that The Rock will appear at Raw next week. The Rock's announcement came hours before Cena defeated The Miz in the Raw main event, getting him to submit to the STF. Immediately after the match, Cena then delivered the Attitude Adjuster on R-Truth, who snuck into the ring disguised in a Scream Halloween costume. Time now once again for Mark My Words. I may be a wrestling fan, but I also grew up loving the Muppets, and it was just fun to watch those crazy characters show up on Monday Night Raw. It was wild to discover that Sheamus and Beaker are actually related, and I give props to Bunsen and Beaker for helping Santino in his match against Jack Swagger. Although I was disappointed that a certain Muppet diva didn't take advantage and give Vicky Guerrero something that she's had coming to her for a long time. Personally, I say if she ever got in the ring, Miss Piggy would karate chop Alicia Fox into the second deck, no problem. Now, some of these guest stars haven't really worked. Seriously, Dennis Miller, don't ever show up at a wrestling event again. But the Muppets have always been appealing to people of all ages, and it was enjoyable to see two of my pastimes from both my past and adult lives come together for one night only. I'm the Wrestling Mark. Finally! The Mark has come back to RowdyC.com! Oh yes, and the Mark could not have picked a better time to come back, because we are on the road to WrestleMania! And this is going to be one of the most anticipated WrestleManias in history, because after his dramatic victory at the Royal Rumble, the jabroni-beaten, pie-eating, trailblazing, eyebrow-raising people's champion, The Rock, for the first time in 8 years, is WWE Champion! And we are looking at the most anticipated rematch in WrestleMania history! It will be The Rock versus John Cena for the championship! Or will it? That's right, my fellow Marks. This Monday on Raw, live from right here deep in the heart of Dallas, Texas, it will be John Cena versus CM Punk for the right to face The Rock at WrestleMania. And this means that Cena will have to face not one, but two opponents he has never beaten in the span of just 5 weeks if he is to get back to the top of the WWE mountain. Will we see Rock Cena 2 at WrestleMania? Or will we see Punk Rock 3? Or might it be something else? Anything is possible in the WWE, as many of us have now learned. The Mark has got a feeling there's a good chance that the main event from MetLife Stadium might not be just a two-man battle. Meanwhile, it appears now that the quest for the World Heavyweight Championship is completely up in the air. It appeared that Jack Swagger had earned the right to face Alberto Del Rio at WrestleMania, but it's now looking like the All-American American has puffed away his chances at the gold. So where will we go from this point? It's entirely possible that a certain peroxide-headed superstar with a really banged-up briefcase might just make good on his right to the title when we get to MetLife Stadium in New York this April. Just what is going on with this group of unsavory rogues known as the Shield? Is this group a greater threat than the NWO and D-Generation X could ever hope to be, as Chris Jericho so eludes? It appears that Y2J is back into his Save Us mode, hoping to save the WWE from this band of renegades. He failed to take care of them with the help of Sheamus and Ryback last week on Raw. What will Y2J have in store for this group by April? And of course, there's 3 big names that's going to be on everyone's mind leading up to WrestleMania. That being Brock Lesnar, Triple H, and The Undertaker. There's little doubt that Triple H has had his sights set on Lesnar, not only since Lesnar demolished him all the way back at SummerSlam, but also ever since he made it even more personal by assaulting Triple H's father, Vince McMahon, just a few weeks ago. We've got a feeling that Triple H will have something special planned for the former next big thing in New York. But the other question is, where will The Undertaker be? Does Taker have anything more to prove after going 20-0 on the grandest stage? There's still a lot to figure out in this next extra month before we reach the big stage. I'll be looking to get all these answers for you in the coming weeks, so stay tuned and enjoy the ride to WrestleMania. I'm the Wrestling Mark. I'm the Wrestling Mark, and to say Raw's 1000th episode ended with even more chaos than usual is an understatement. We now know that the WWE Champion, whoever it may be, will face The Rock at the Royal Rumble this January. Will it be CM Punk, who is working on one of the longest title runs in recent years? Well, he still has the belt for now, as John Cena became the first one to ever fail in cashing in Money in the Bank, thanks to Big Show breaking up Punk and Cena's match on Raw. But Punk's actions were the most puzzling. After he hesitated to take advantage of Show's earlier actions to win, after the match, The Rock came out to help Punk against Big Show, and Punk assaulted The Rock. Somehow, I've got a feeling we may see another pipe bomb this Monday if Punk dares to try and explain himself. Raw also saw a new Intercontinental Champion. After being out of action for several weeks, The Miz showed no ill effects by beating Christian for the title in a match chosen by the WWE fans via Twitter. This allows Miz to join the Grand Slam ranks by having held the WWE Intercontinental, United States, and Tag Team titles for his career. Miz successfully defended the title Miz successfully defended the championship just a few days later on SmackDown, and knowing just what tactics he will go to win, Miz could possibly be a contender to go after the Honky Tonk Man's record for longest Intercontinental Champion. Or I might just be getting ahead of myself. Also on SmackDown, Alberto Del Rio will get another shot at Sheamus' World Heavyweight Championship after winning out in a fatal four-way match with Kane, Rey Mysterio, and Daniel Bryan. Bryan almost made Del Rio tap out before Kane stopped him from doing so. Then Mysterio took down both Bryan and Del Rio with one 619, but Ricardo Rodriguez's interference allowed Del Rio to cover Bryan for the win. But the biggest shocker had to be the announcement that AJ is the new general manager of Raw. Well, part of me wants to say be careful what I wished for, but who knows? I mean, Raw's first GM was a guy who tried to run WWE out of business. We've had a megalomaniac who could barely talk, a shrew, a whole bunch of celebrities, and even a leprechaun hiding behind a computer. With all of that history, who's to say an insane diva might not be better than all of them? I hate to use a very bad cliche, but AJ just might be crazy enough to work. I'm the Wrestling Mark. I'm the Wrestling Mark, hoping that 2014 will feature more episodes of my show than matches featuring The Undertaker. And as you can see, I'm not exactly dressed professionally for this episode, because how can you be professional at a time like this? Folks, we are just literally hours away by the time this video gets posted from the greatest spectacular of all time, WrestleMania 30! And this WrestleMania has got people talking like never before. There is definitely going to be plenty of action tonight from New Orleans, including John Cena against Bray Wyatt. And I have to tell you people, I am more than a little concerned about John Cena's future coming into this match. Don't get me wrong, Cena will do whatever it takes to try and beat Wyatt in this match, just like he has done every time he stepped into the ring for his career. But it seems pretty clear that that all-out mentality has taken its toll on Cena throughout the years, and it's never been more apparent than this past season. Cena has been battered and beaten, and I have to tell you that even if he does beat Wyatt tonight, I am more than a little concerned at just how much more of a future Cena will have as a wrestling superstar. Another thing that people wonder is gonna end or not is the streak. Brock Lesnar is the next in line to try and be the first to beat The Undertaker on the biggest stage of them all. We know that Brock is one of the toughest opponents out there, but what concerns me is the fact that this is now the only time each year that Taker gets in the ring. Does it mean he's going to be fresh, or is he going to have so much rust that it could be a large problem against a monster like Lesnar? You honestly can't say one or the other for sure when you're dealing with someone like The Undertaker, but I will say this. This might be the biggest threat to the streak in a long time. But what everyone has been talking about more than anything else is Daniel Bryan's quest to become world champion once again and his battle with Triple H. We know what is at stake tonight. Bryan must beat the game in order to get a shot at Randy Orton and Batista to become champion in the main event. Otherwise, that triple threat match at WrestleMania will be an all-evolution battle between the game, the animal, and the Viper. Does Bryan have what it takes to overcome those odds? Will our host of WrestleMania, the immortal Hulk Hogan, have any part in this? Do I know what's gonna happen? How should I know? I mean, it's not like they script the winners of these things in advance or something, and even if they did, it's not like I could know who they picked anyway. I'm just an idiot wrestling fan and reporter on the internet. But I can say this. This could very well be one of the most unpredictable WrestleManias of all time. I think I'm gonna go prepare for tonight's action by watching one of the greatest video releases in recent years, Scooby-Doo WrestleMania Mystery, and then tune in for WrestleMania tonight like all of you and watch the drama unfold. I'm the Wrestling Mark. The Wrestling Mark, reporting live from outside the American Airlines Center in Dallas, where we have just gone through hell in a cell. You know what? I'm still recovering from how this night ended, but we'll get to that in due time. The first cell match of the night was John Cena versus Randy Orton. And you know what? A lot of people have been saying that this rivalry has gotten stale. They're tired of seeing these two face each other, but for my money, tonight's match had some of the best action those two have produced in a long time. I mean, the two were going after weapons early on in the match. Cena was put through a chair and a table, while Orton, trying to bring the steps into the ring, that backfired on him as Cena managed to deliver the 5-knuckle shuffle and the side slam on those steps. The two showed just how well they know each other as Cena quickly kicked out of an early RKO. Orton refused to tap out to the STF and kicked out of the Attitude Adjustment twice. Orton even countered an Attitude Adjuster into an RKO, and Cena still kicked out of that. But finally, Cena delivered an AA from the turnbuckle into another table to get the win over Orton. With this victory, Cena now gets one more shot at Brock Lesnar and the World Championship. As for the champion, we'll get to that in a moment. Almost as hellacious as the cell matches was the opening contest, where Dolph Ziggler swept a 2 out of 3 falls match against Cesaro to retain the Intercontinental Championship. Ziggler countered out of Cesaro's spin attack into a roll-up for the first fall. Then he endured a power slam, a suplex, even a press into an uppercut, mainly because an injured left shoulder left Cesaro unable to get to a pin cover in time at any point. But finally, Ziggler got a kick to the face and the zigzag to score the second fall and retain the belt. It took 2 backbreakers, but Nikki Bella was able to defeat her sister Brie for the second time in this very intense sibling rivalry. With this loss, Brie now has a choice to make. She must be Nikki's personal servant for a month or be forced to quit WWE. For now, it looks like she's willing to submit to the former of those 2 choices. We may find out tomorrow night on Raw just whether or not she will continue to endure that. Golden Stardust managed to retain the tag team championships against the Usos. The Usos were flying all over the place, inside and outside the ring, and at one time, both Usos hit a superplex on one of the Dusts at the same time. But ultimately, the 2 Dusts managed to double team to allow Goldust to get the slam needed for the win. Sheamus retained the United States Championship against The Miz, delivering a brogue kick as The Miz flew from the turnbuckle. But the real entertaining part was after the match, when Sheamus used the unconscious Miz like a puppet and got his stunt double Sandow to mimic him. He even got him to do the YMCA with The Miz. And you know what? After seeing him in person, I'm not sure when Sandow looked like a bigger dork as The Miz's stunt double or trying to be a poor impression of Pafo the Genius. Rusev managed to beat the Big Show again by submission, even though it looked like the referee called for the bell without the Big Show tapping. But it still took 2 to 3 kicks to Big Show's head to finally take him down and allow Rusev to get him into the submission hold. At the moment, I'm not sure who's out there in WWE who could possibly beat this Russian monster. But I'll tell you who I think really deserve to have comeuppance come to them, and that's his little blonde bimbo. Lana, you like to talk all the smack? Well, I can think of a certain diva currently in NXT that I would love to see come up to Raw and kick your teeth down your throat. I've got one word for you, Lana. Woo! AJ Lee, the greatest diva since Trish Stratus, retained her Divas Championship as Paige, having Alicia Fox in her corner, backfired greatly. When AJ left Paige outside the ring and Alicia chose to throw her back in, that just gave AJ the chance she needed to put her in the Black Widow submission hold for the tap out. And you know what? One thing that I'm really disappointed in from CM Punk calling it quits is that I don't get to attend these matches and taunt him by calling him nothing but AJ's husband. But the match everyone was waiting for was Dean Ambrose against Seth Rollins in the Cell. And how psychotic was Ambrose in this thing? He started by fighting Rollins, Jamie Noble, and Joey Mercury on top of the Cell, and then the 2 went after each other on the Cell wall and fell onto both announce tables. It looked like they were both going to be carried out on stretchers before Ambrose broke free and threw Rollins into the Cell. And it was only then that the match officially started, when Ambrose then threw just about everything possible at Rollins. Too many chairs to count, tables, even Rollins' Money in the Bank briefcase. But then, I'm still shocked at what happened at the end of this thing. It looked like Ambrose was going to take out Rollins on a cinder block, and then the lights went out, and all of a sudden, Bray Wyatt was in the ring. He took out Ambrose, allowing Rollins to get the win. There are certainly going to be a lot more questions that we're going to need answers to starting this Monday night on Raw, leading in to Survivor Series. Unfortunately, as many of you are aware, we did not have a World Championship match tonight. Brock Lesnar did not defend the championship and has in fact not been seen for weeks since he barely retained his championship back at Night of Champions. And personally, this wrestling fan and reporter is deeply disappointed in Brock for doing this. This calls into question his courage and dedication to the championship. A lot of people seem to have some issue with John Cena, but at least he has always been willing to defend a title anytime, any place, anywhere. I guess maybe these UFC fighters just aren't as tough enough as real WWE superstars. Brock's loudmouth manager Paul Heyman may like to talk the talk, but sooner or later, his client Lesnar is going to have to walk the walk. Reporting from the American Airlines Center in Dallas, I'm the Wrestling Mark.